You wake before the sun, not because you want to, but because the day will punish you if you don't. The air inside your house is cold, damp, and sour with the breath of too many bodies. Smoke from last night's fire still clings low to the rafters, curling against the underside of the thatch like something alive. It stings your eyes. It burns the back of your throat. Every morning begins this way. The floor beneath your bare feet is packed earth, hardened by years of shuffling, of spilled grain, and of animal waste ground smooth by living. Somewhere in the dark, a pig shifts against the wattle wall. Chickens scratch at the dirt near the door. Their warmth, their dung, their restless stirring. These are as much a part of your home as the people sleeping beside you. This is your dwelling. One room. One fire pit at its center. One hole in the roof where smoke is supposed to escape, but mostly doesn't. Your family sleeps here. Your animals live here. Everything you own fits within arm's reach. There are no separate rooms, no doors to close. Privacy is a concept that does not exist in your world. When the wind changes direction, rain seeps through the thatch and pools in the corners. When winter deepens, frost forms on the inside of the walls. You step outside. The sky is iron gray, as it is most mornings. The village around you is small, a handful of timber and thatch structures huddled together along a muddy track. Beyond the houses, open fields stretch toward a dark line of forest. The air smells of wet earth and wood smoke and manure. A dog barks. A cow lows from somewhere unseen. This is England. The year is roughly 900 AD. And this world does not care if you survive. You are a ceorl, a free peasant, technically, though the word free carries very little of the meaning you might hope for. In the Anglo-Saxon social order, there are kings and ealdormen at the top, thanes below them, landholding lords who owe military service to the crown, and then the ceorls, the broad base upon which everything rests. You are somewhere in the lower reaches of that base. Perhaps you are a jebber, the lowest rank of the free, a man or woman entirely dependent on your lord for land, tools, and seed. You own nothing that was not given to you. You repay everything with your labor. Roughly 10% of the population lives in outright slavery. They are the theos, people captured in war, born into bondage, or sold by desperate parents who saw servitude as preferable to starvation. You are not a slave, but some weeks, the distinction feels thin. Your lord provides you with a plot of land. In return, you work his fields before your own. You pay rent in grain, in livestock, in days of sweat. The amount varies by your station. A jebber may owe 2 or 3 days of labor per week on the lord's land during planting and harvest, more if the lord demands it. What time remains is yours, but it is never enough. You also owe tithes to the church, a tenth of everything you produce, payable in crops or animals. Between the lord and the priest, your surplus vanishes before it begins. You did not choose this life. It was chosen for you, the day you were born in this village, to these parents, under this lord. The weight of the system is designed to keep you exactly where you are, grinding your potential into the very soil you till. Your day begins before first light and does not end until the sun sinks below the treeline. In spring, you are plowing. The tool you use is a heavy wooden ard, a scratch plow, tipped with iron if you are fortunate, dragged by a shared team of oxen across long, narrow strips of land. These strips are measured in furlongs, a furrow long, roughly 220 yards, and each family works their scattered allotment across the communal fields. The system is designed for fairness, so that good soil and poor soil are distributed equally. In practice, it means you walk miles every day between your strips, and you plow whether your back aches or not. Summer brings weeding, haymaking, and the constant, anxious watching of the sky. Rain at the wrong time will flatten your barley. Drought will shrivel it. Hail can destroy a month's growth in minutes. Every shift in the wind carries a message about whether your family will eat come winter. In autumn, you harvest. You cut grain with a short iron sickle, bent over for hours at a time. You bind sheaves. You thresh by hand, beating the stalks against a wooden floor. You winnow, tossing grain into the air and letting the wind carry the chaff. Every step is done by muscle and patience. There are no machines. There are no shortcuts. Winter offers no rest. You mend tools, repair fences, slaughter what livestock you cannot afford to feed, and try to preserve the meat with salt. You gather firewood, an endless, critical task. You spread manure across the fallow fields in preparation for next year's planting. Archaeological studies of remains tell the story your body already knows. Spines compressed from years of carrying heavy loads. Joints swollen with arthritis by 30. Teeth worn to nubs from grit in hand-ground flour. Healed fractures that set crooked because there was no one to set them properly. Your diet is narrow and unchanging. The foundation of every meal is bread, flat, dense, baked on a hot iron plate over the fire. The flour is maslin, a rough mixture of wheat and rye, ground on a hand quern that leaves grit and stone fragments in every bite. That grit is why your teeth are being destroyed. You eat it anyway. You have no alternative. The other staple is pottage, a thick stew of whatever is available. Dried beans, peas, onions, leeks, wild herbs foraged from the hedgerows and forest edge. On a good day, there may be a piece of salt pork. Meat is rare for people of your status. You drink ale brewed from barley. The water is often unsafe. Ale is safer, and it dulls the edges of the relentless day. Famine was a recurring reality. When the grain runs out, you eat what the forest gives you, roots, bark, anything. Hunger is not an event. It is a permanent condition of your being. Dysentery, the flux, is one of the most common killers. It comes with fouled water, spoiled food, and the close quarters in which you live. Once it enters a household, it rarely stops. Tuberculosis spreads through the coughs of people sleeping inches from your face. 30% of children will not survive to their first birthday. Half will not reach age 5. If you are a woman, every pregnancy is a gamble. If you avoid the flux and the fevers, your life expectancy is unlikely to exceed 40 years. There is something else hiding in your food. The rye is susceptible to a fungus called ergot. When ground into your bread, it causes ergot poisoning. Fingers blacken.
Toes die.
Limbs rot while still attached to the living body. You do not know this is fungus. You think it is God's anger. By 900 AD, faith is a framework imposed from above. You are told the world is fallen, and your suffering is God's order. To question your poverty is to question the divine. The priest is the only one who can read, and he demands 1/10 of everything you grow. In return, he offers the only hope that suffering now will be rewarded in the next life. Obedience is holy. Resistance is sin. Justice is sought through trials by ordeal, burning your hand to prove innocence. Punishments are public spectacles of fear. War is not distant. It comes to your door. Viking or Saxon raiding parties take everything. Fields go unplanted. Men are called to the FYRD to fight with farming tools. A single raid can impoverish a community for a generation. If you are an Anglo-Saxon woman, your labor begins before the men rise. You grind the grain, bake the bread, brew the ale, spin wool, and care for the dying. Childbirth is a threshold between life and death, delivered on a dirt floor without antiseptics. You endure because there is no alternative. The people of 900 AD survived because they adjusted their expectations to the dimensions of their suffering. Hope was a harvest that came in before the frost. They adapted to cruelty, bending their lives around it like a tree grows around a stone. We call it the Dark Ages, but they called it Tuesday. They lived through the smoke, the ache, and the cold, choosing to continue when existence offered almost nothing in return.